Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Mel and this is my podcast where I talk about all the fabric crafting goodness that I've been up to over the last couple of weeks. Mostly knitting, which is what it usually is on this channel, but occasionally I do delve into crochet and spinning and sewing and so on. This week I think it's all crochet. No, not all crochet, all knitting, yes. If you are a returning viewer, then welcome back, and if you are a new viewer, then hi. Obviously my name is Mel and I live on the Orkney Islands off the north coast of Scotland, where I live with my husband and kitties and chickens and ducks and such like on our small holding here. I think in the US you would call it a small homestead, very small homestead. We only have 2/3 of an acre, which is small but big enough for the pair of us. So what have we got? Well, I have 3 finished objects this week and 1 new cast on. I haven't been putting off recording an episode so much as we had a couple of weeks while I was away south, which I can talk about at the end of the episode, and then there was kind of a week recovering, and then the following week, last week, was quite busy as well, kind of business related and so on, and again I'll talk about that at the end of the episode. But finally the weather has finally smiled upon me today. It has been really rubbish and snowy the past few days compared to last week when it was like summer, but now I actually have some light to be able to record. So my first finished object I am actually wearing, and it is my adapted Orland cardigan, and I will stand up in just a moment to show you it, but I am really happy with it. Oh, we have a rainbow. I have a rainbow on my sleeve. I have some of those rainbow catchers in the window, and I'm going to be sparkling all episode, but that's okay. So I'll just move the camera back and I will stand up and show you the cardigan. So it is a nice heavyweight cardigan. This is an Aran weight cardigan, and it has a colourwork yoke with these nice bold spring-like flowers on, and that's what I've gone for with this cardigan. Greens and yellows and whites, which I very much associate with spring up on Orkney. I have even more rainbows now, lots of rainbows. I have done a little bit of waist shaping, and yep, I think I've done short rows at the back of the neck too, to raise it up a little wee bit, and I have actually steeked this cardigan too, and we have full length slightly oversized sleeves, nice and cozy, and yeah, I will sit back down now. I have yet to sew on the buttons, but I have actually put buttonholes in this. I don't always when I knit cardigans, because I'm not always going to be kind of fastening them. If you want like a big oversized cardigan, I'm not going to really be fastening it, but I have put them in. I just haven't fastened the buttons on. I think I have them in my project bag, if I can find them. Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using a mixed batch of colours, and they're a bit different for me. They're not very subtle, put it that way. So I'm going to be using yellow, these yellow, little yellow, hang on, I need 2 hands for this job. Let me just get these to show you. So I'm going to be using yellow and green gingham heart buttons. Get it to focus, there we go, and they come in different shades. So there is a paler yellow heart, and there is different shades of the green gingham. I'm going to fade them from palest yellow at the top through darker yellow, through paler green to darker green as I work down the cardigan. And I'm only putting, I think it's 5 or 6 of these buttons on this cardigan, because it's not an overly long cardigan. It's not cropped, but it's only really just hip length, so that is the plan for those. I just haven't had a chance to sew them on, and to be honest I completely forgot about doing it. I steeked a cardigan and knit this in the round, and I have cut the steek and sewn it down, as you can see, except I haven't done that for this section, for the colourwork section. I had, but I wasn't happy with the finish, how it looked on the front, especially on here on this side, so I need to do a little bit of fiddling with the colourwork section. It looks fine on this side, but this side I'm not happy with it, so I'm going to fix that. The patterns that I've used, because it is an adapted pattern, the original pattern for the colourwork is by, let me just find, Linnea Ornstein, and it is the Orland cardigan, and I have pretty much kept to the original colours that were in the pattern. If I can find a photograph in here. Yeah, of course I can. So I'm trying not to show the pattern instructions, but the original pattern does have pretty much the same colours that I have used, but the size range for the Orland is very, very poor. The largest size is not good at all. I bought this pattern about 5 or 6 years ago along with the yarn to make it, and just never got around to doing it. I hadn't realised at the time that the largest chest size was 112 centimetres, which I think is around, let me work this out, I know about 44, 45 inches maybe, which is too small. I mean, that would be without even any positive ease taken into account, which would be too small for my bust size. So what I did instead was I used the instructions that I did for my Skoggenfjall sweater, which is, let me find another picture, which I made recently, a Skoggenfjall sweater, and I liked the fit of it as an oversized sweater. So I used all of my numbers for the Skoggenfjall and followed the instructions, and just used the colourwork chart for the yoke section instead of the trees. The Skoggenfjall is by Diana Waller, also known as Paper Tiger. Is that right? Paper Tiger? I believe it's Paper Tiger or Paper Tigers, but yeah, Diana Waller. And the yarns that I used, well, I do have them all to hand, or leftovers. I used Drops Nepal, which is a alpaca blend, if I can find the mix. It is 65% wool, 35% alpaca. And I used the colours 7238, and I also used the white, which is 1101, and I used the yellow, which I don't have the ball band to hand, but it is the mustardy yellow colour too. I have knitted oversized, which is grand, and I can wear it. I wanted, okay, so spring on the island is quite cool. Like last week we had lovely weather, walk around outside in a t-shirt weather, but the beginning of this week we've had snow, like big fluffy flakes of snow. Spring tends to be quite cool, and it can be quite windy. So if you want to wear something like a dress, I have on one of my penny dresses, one of my Colette pattern penny dresses on, and if I want to wear something spring-like, it's going to be quite cold unless I'm wearing a sweater over the top. So I wanted a heavier weight sweater that would keep me warm, almost like a jacket, but also being able to wear a dress or a skirt too. So I just looked across, the cat has just opened the door. We have one kitty cat has come to see us. This is a Willow, if you've not met her before, and she does not like being picked up particularly. She doesn't mind coming to sit on you, but she doesn't like actually being picked up. But she'll wander around behind me now. So yeah, so that is my Orland cardigan. So the next item is, I would like to say it's a new cast on, but it isn't. But I'd only just cast it on when I last showed it on the podcast, which was a few months ago actually. and it is a shawl that I cast on while I was away in Perth in September. I was at the what was formerly known as the Perth Festival of Yarn, is now the Scottish Yarn Festival in Perth, and I cast on this shawl, which again has got rainbows on it. It doesn't have rainbows knit into it, and I've had to again adapt the pattern slightly for this. So the pattern, and I will show it a little bit better, but the pattern itself is the Humblebee shawl by, oh, I have left, no, I thought I'd left the pattern in the room, I have not. It is by Fibre Tales, and it is this shawl, and it is a lovely shawl with little bumblebees on and lace flowers. It is a bottom-up shawl, so you knit from here all the way up, and it is supposed to have a picot edge, which I haven't done, and it's supposed to be a full triangle shawl. Now the yarn I've used is some that I bought at Perth, formerly Perth Yarn Festival, a few years ago when I was vending there as a yarn dyer, and I picked up 2 skeins of this beautiful yarn in this beautiful brown. It's actually showing up quite contrasted on camera with lots of kind of white bits, if you know what I mean. It is not as high contrast as that. It could just be my screen on my camera showing that. Sometimes they'll say that colours don't look true on camera, and then when I go to edit them they actually are showing up true, but on my screen they look quite different. There is a lot less variegation in the actual shawl itself. The yarn is by the Wool Barn, and I bought 2 skeins of this base, and it has rubbed off on the back, but it is a merino cashmere nylon blend, and I don't remember the name of the colourway because it has rubbed off. I think it's something like caramel or coffee or something like that. Yeah, but I have had to adapt it because the original pattern is done in a DK weight yarn, and I really wanted to use this yarn for this pattern. I thought the colour would look really, really nice. This is a fingering weight yarn, and when I worked out the stitch count for the length and for the width, it was going to come out too narrow to where it kind of wrapped around, like, you know, like round the neck and tail ends come down and so on, which is how I like to wear a shawl, kind of, you know, wrapped around the front and back sort of thing. And there wasn't going to be enough length to be able to do that, so I added extra repeats, and I thought my yardage I was going to have loads of leftover yarn. Not loads of leftover yarn, but I would have plenty of yarn plus yarn left over. So what I had done when I was at Perth is I did a provisional cast on at the bottom. The intention being when I had finished knitting the shawl, I could pick up the provisional cast on and knit until I run out. But I got partway through the shawl and realised I was going to run out before I could even finish the shawl. I had done this section of the border and I'm thinking, oh, I've used a lot of yarn already, and didn't think it was going to last, and it wouldn't have. So I've had to adapt it, but I will show that as well. So I have done little bumblebees on the bottom and these little flowers. I haven't blocked the shawl yet because I cast this off just before I started recording. I was finishing the shawl last night and didn't have a chance to cast off, so it's not been blocked and the ends have not been woven in. But these little bees are really, really cute. They have 2 little bobbles, and I've made slightly smaller bobbles for the head as the instead of the bottom, and it has caliper cable stitches for the wings, and they look really, really cute. And then there's just these simple lace flowers in between the bumblebees. It's a very simple pattern shawl other than the bumblebee section, because it is mostly garter with just this stockinette where the patterning is. So I got partway through this and realised I was going to be really short on yarn. So what I ended up doing was I adapted the shawl to be more of a crescent shape, like so, but with a pointy end. So it's a pointy shawl, but it has a crescent top edge to it, which is fine. I think it looks perfectly fine, and once it's blocked out it'll look even better. I managed to do that. The last few rounds I did some severe, because it was, you know, has decreases at both sides and decreases in the center, but if I'd left it as it was, they would have had this kind of stepped square section. So I did some very rapid decreases in the last few rows to give it a more of a rounded shape rather than a square topped shape, and I'm really happy with it. I did pick up the provisional cast on and I just cast off. I cast off with a crochet hook, so a crochet cast off, crochet chain cast off, where it's not going to focus there. So it's just a kind of a simple regular cast off, but using a crochet hook instead, because my cast offs are usually really tight. So 99% of the time I actually do a stretchy cast off or stretchy bind off, and which is what I've done on the top section. I did start doing the crochet method, crochet chain method, and it was just too tight. It was puckering all of the stitches, because like I said, I do tend to cast off quite tightly. So to get this, I ripped it back again and did a stretchy, simple stretchy cast off, and it's made a lovely curved finish to it. I'm really happy with it. It's just so soft, and I really wanted to use these yarns. I saw a shawl knitting this at Perth, and it was just kind of across towards the corner from where my own stall was, and it kept catching my eye the whole time, this yarn. I just thought the colour was lovely, and it was in a fairly simple, I don't know if it was in a stockinette or a garter shawl design, but it was lovely. And so I did buy 2 skeins intending to knit a shawl, and I'm really happy that I finally done it, and it's cast off and another project done, and it'll be a nice basic staple shawl in my wardrobe to go with, well, it's brown, so it'll go with a lot. Next up we have a simple pair of stockinette socks with a Christmas colourway. I think this, I'm not sure when I started these socks, whether it was around Christmas or just after, but I wanted something fairly mindless to pick up and put down between more complicated bits on other projects. So if I got up to a part in a pattern where suddenly you're up to a complicated bit and have to think, because I usually knit whilst watching TV on an evening, I like to have something simple to hand, close to hand, that I can just kind of grab if I get to a difficult part and I think, oh, I'll look at that in the morning, then I have something else I can pick up and work on. I struggle to watch TV without having something to, you know, have in my hands and work on. So knitting or crochet, or I don't know, just spinning even, if I can get away with it. It's a bit noisy really when you're watching TV. So these were kind of my last pair of Christmas socks from the winter, and yep, just simple vanilla socks. We have a bit of colour pooling going on here, and my usual vanilla sock kind of, not recipe, but kind of formula: Turkish cast on, toe up, stockinette. Increases for the gusset, I've done a eye of partridge slip stitch on the heel, and once I've got past the heel turn, the heel flap is just in stockinette, because I don't usually wear out my socks on the heel. I usually wear them out just here. Back to stockinette, and then a 2x2 rib. The second sock is slightly different in the colour pooling. Has happened, instead of I have this big patch of speckles here and a big patch of brown on the top of the foot. On the other one it has worked out the opposite, which I quite like. So they're kind of fraternal twins. So I have the beautiful speckling going on the top of the sock, and the brown speckling is on the bottom. The yarns that I've used, I have used a new to me base, which I'm really happy with it. I'm looking forward to seeing how it holds up, is in this yarn, which is a Polworth based sock yarn, and I absolutely love this. I have probably about half of this yarn left, so I can make another pair. And the yarn is by Siobhan's Crafts, and it is a 85% superwash Polworth, 15% nylon, in the colourway Gingerbread House, and it is a sock yarn, like I said. Really happy with it. I have another skein in the same base, and it's really bright and colourful, which I will probably cast on a pair of socks for this summer, and I just absolutely love them. I can't wait to wear them. For the contrast yarn, I have used the Regia commercial sock yarn in their undyed base, or undyed colourway I should say, because I really like their commercial sock yarns. I like how they hold up. They hold up really well. It's nice and woolly. So I bought a skein of their undyed yarn to be able to use as a contrast, especially for where I would just want a plain yarn, so that you're really showing off the main colourway to its best, rather than having something else detract from it. So yes, I'm really happy with those, and now that I've shown them, I can actually wear them. Okay, last up I have my work in progress, since I only have one now that I cast off the shawl this morning, and it is a pair of socks that I cast on when I finished the Gingerbread House socks, and I'm just putting them on the sock blocker just to show off the lace work on this, because I've only done part of it, but it is lace. So there we go. So these are, the lace work is just on the front of the sock, on the top of the sock, but I've put it on the side of the blockers just to show it off. It has a lovely lacework design in this sock, and I'm really happy with it. The pattern is called the Will-o'-the-Wisp socks by This Handmade Life, and I believe this is a free pattern on Ravelry. And the lacework, I think, yeah, it's just on the front of the sock all the way up the top of the sock. It doesn't go around the ankle either. The design, the pattern itself, is actually a top-down design, but I don't really do top-down socks. The couple of times I've tried, I have not enjoyed it and have ripped them out. I am definitely a toe-up girl, so that's what I've done. I'm just basically doing the same chart, but it's just that the design is going to come out upside down. But since it's not like a picture of a tree or something, it doesn't really matter. It is just a lacework pattern. The yarn that I've used is one of my own hand-dyed yarns, and it is in the colourway Bananas in Pyjamas, and this is on a Blueface Leicester nylon base, and yeah, it's nice and colourful and spring-like again, because we're on the spring knitting kick, and yeah, it's coming out really nice. And the kind of micro, well, it's not even micro stripe, it is a variegated yarn, but it's coming out quite stripy, which is really nice. I'm sure it'll pull when I come to do the gusset section, but that's okay. I don't mind on socks, not at all. In a garment, yes. In socks, no, not a big deal. So I'm actually working these magic loop method, which is not my preferred way to knit socks. Usually I would use a 9-inch circular, which is how I knit my vanilla socks, but with the lacework it's just easier for me to manipulate the needles if I have kind of two regular straight needles, rather than trying to fiddle around with a little tiny wee circular needle. So yes, so that is my current work in progress, although to be honest there are other garments and items on the needles, it's just I haven't really been working on them. The bubble cardigan, the Stephen West bubble cardigan, is nearly done. I have done all of the bottom rib. All I have left to do is the big wide button, well, it's not really a button band, but you know, shawl band that goes up the front and around the neck. But I have to pick up all the stitches for that, and I've been kind of procrastinating on that. I also haven't been working on my librarian cardigan because it is in almost black yarn and I need proper daylight. Although now the evenings are getting lighter, I'm sure it'll be easier to work on that too. Sorry, my throat's gone really croaky. My husband has, can't decide if he's just got a very bad cold or he's got the flu, but I suspect he's passing it over to me as I have a bit of a tickle this morning. So yes, I am at that point in my knitting this year. I don't know, I tend to go through phases where I'm frantically knitting lots and lots of things, or like in December I was knitting tons and tons of socks, and sometimes I go through phases where I just have no knitting mojo, and I think it's because we've just been so busy. I haven't done a huge amount of knitting until probably the last week or so. But I have found I've got the urge suddenly to finish things, which is why the Humblebee shawl, although I'd only cast it on and knit about 2 rows in September, and then it's just languished, I haven't touched it since. Suddenly I wanted to knit on this, and I don't know why, but suddenly I just had the urge to knit on this. I think it's after knitting all the rib for this cardigan and for the bubble cardigan. I just wanted to get back to knitting just some stockinette or some garter, you know, something really simple. And I've been looking at my kind of works in progress on my Ravelry project page, and thinking, oh, I could finish off the colourwork chart on my witching hour sweater and things like that. I just want to kind of finish some projects now, but at the same time I want to cast everything on. It's like, but you can't do everything. And I'm sure on the next episode there will be projects you've either never seen or haven't seen for, I don't know, 2 years or something silly like that. But we shall see. We'll see how it goes. So that's all the knitting content, and I will talk about some other bits and pieces now. So just telling you if you're not interested in that. So yes, I spoke on the last episode about going south off the island and going to the north of England to visit family. My grandmother passed away at the beginning of April. Beginning of March. And although I couldn't get down for the funeral, I did go down to visit a couple of weeks later and visit my grandfather. Grandfather sounds really posh. My granddad, and which was really, really nice. I got to visit him, and I also got to see my brother, which I haven't seen my brother since my father's funeral. And I also got to see one of my sisters as well. My younger sister Charlotte and her partner are the Orkney Overlanders, and they live in a big off-road camper, and they have their own social media bits and pieces, so you can check those out. But it was really nice to catch up with Charlotte too. They were visiting my granddad at the same time, and also get to have a week or so away with mum. We stayed in a couple of Airbnbs, and then I stayed at hers as well for a couple of nights, and it was just nice to have some kind of relaxation time after all the family visiting time the first week also. Since then I have, as you may know, I've closed down the yarn dyeing business at the end of the tax year, so that's done. I just have the tax returns to do for this financial year, and then that's end of that chapter. And also last week we started to I don't know what you'd say, start the process, the ball rolling with selling our we have a small holiday let on the island, like it's a little 1-bedroom flat, and we're putting that on the market. Time has come to end that chapter 2, so we can kind of do other things. So last week was, you know, phoning solicitors, phoning real estate agent, phoning surveyor to get the home report done before we can put it on the market. So there was a lot of kind of emails back and forth and phone calls and just general kind of having to interact with people, which I don't, well, no, that's not true. I was going to say I don't enjoy interacting with people. That's actually not strictly true. I don't enjoy interacting with people that I don't know. I'm really shy, and I'm very introverted. So although that doesn't really come over on camera, I find it very difficult to initialize a new kind of relationship with people. So like phoning up a new solicitor or real estate agent and so on and so forth. So it was a bit of a stressful week, but it got all the beginnings done. So photos have been taken for the real estate agent, and it's going. Now we're just kind of waiting for the home report to be done and things to kind of get moving, and then get people viewing the property. I don't know why I keep waving my arm around. I don't know. Getting nervous, I guess. So back at home, we have all the vegetables are starting to get planted out and planted up. We have lots of tomatoes in the greenhouse. I think we have about 6 varieties this year. When I say greenhouse, it's big. We decided to build a giant greenhouse rather than a polytunnel because of the strong winds that we have in the winter months in Orkney. It can get very strong. I didn't want to really have to worry about polythene tearing on a polytunnel, so we built a big plastic greenhouse, corrugated plastic greenhouse instead, like the wooden structured thing. So we have lots of tomatoes, we have chilies, I have jalapenos, we have 2 varieties of cucumber, we have one tomatillo plant. Only one seedling survived, unfortunately. And we have squash, winter squash, to be planted in there. We have candy roasters, butternut, and Hubbards, and another variety that the name eludes me. Oh, cat's back again. And yeah, so things are really starting to progress in the greenhouse. We have our potatoes in, we have our onions in, garlic in, they're all in the main vegetable garden. And now we're kind of starting to think time for planting out other things outside as well. So lots of busyness happening. It's a quite busy time of the year. You would think summer would be more busy, but actually I think the spring is like peak busyness in the vegetable garden. If the camera's shaking, it's because the cat is moving the tripod. What are you doing? So yes, I think that's pretty much everything that's happening around here for the moment. And I have a couple of more video ideas coming up in the next few weeks. But you'll see them when they are published. And now I'm going to go and edit this video so that I can hopefully get it out for tomorrow. And then I have, what else? Carrots. I want to put the carrot seeds in this morning as well, whilst the sun is still shining. So I'm going to leave it there and catch the last of the decent weather this morning, and I will see you on the next video. Bye bye.